It's that time again, fellas, boys and girls. Round 18 review coming at you this morning, live from my house. I'm back home. I had back in my own bed last night, which was unbelievable. Be back in my own bed. I did get delayed on my flight a few times, but I'm back. I'm back in the hot seat. So for the footy nerds out there, I don't have stupid sunglasses on. I'm not in a dungeon. There it is. Bipolar Todd's attacking Mitch already, and we haven't even started. Welcome to round 18 review. Obviously, in a 8 days time, we have Origin. But today we'll be talking about the games that's coming up this weekend, and a special mention to the NRLW girls kick off their season tonight. It's the Sharks with the Eels. But well done to them girls. Hopefully they have a great season. From the Origin series, I'm sure we'll have some great clashes coming up over the next few weeks for the girls. But well done to them. They've been working hard in the back end, and their season's finally about to start. So well done and good luck to all the NRLW girls. If any of you listen, if you don't, jump on and listen, and we might start having a look at a few 6s and 7s from the NRLW.
Yeah, I like that shout, Tony.
Yeah, it is, mate. The girls' game's growing. As we said from the start of the year over at Vegas, I was lucky enough to watch the girls obviously thump England. I watched the Origin series closely. It's a bit of a merry-go-round with the girls' competition, with players coming, going, leaving. So there's always something to talk about, obviously, in the girls' game. And as we know, it's going to start growing. I've got actually a coaching clinic next week for Talent Locker. And there's a small part of it is a group of girls. Tiana Penatani and Hannah Gray will be doing the girls' side of it. And me and Benny Roberts doing the boys' side. So it's going well.
Where's that, brother? In Goldie?
Yeah, in Carrara on the Gold Coast. Bryce Poisol runs a company called Talent Locker, has reached out. I'm gonna do some stuff with Benny Roberts. I think it's nearly sold out, the boys' side, but the girls' side, plenty of spots left. So if you're a girl and you're watching the footy tonight and you want to be like the girls playing tonight, jump over and give it a follow and try and get down to Carrara. It'll be some good things, plenty of prizes, giveaways, but also just to learn about footy. Footy and life. Footy and life.
Awesome, mate.
You think footy's hard, life's a lot harder. There's a lot of shit going on out there in the world today, isn't there?
We're only just talking about it. Climate change going on. Sydney's flooding everywhere. 4 degrees in the mornings, I'm getting told, in Sydney. And then over here, it's a heat wave. I've got a conspiracy. There's something going on, but I don't know what it is.
The apocalypse.
Is the world ending?
Is the world ending?
It's just an open conversation.
Can't find my head.
All the viewers can sit on for a little bit. I can't find we can't find our own head, so we're not worried about whether the world's ending. We're trying to find our head to get the podcast together and put some good content, let alone worrying about the world ending. But I'll tell you what, it is a heat wave over here, and I'm hearing Sydney's falling apart. So
heat wave. Look at how brown your head is. I tell you what, I know they are special followers and footy nerds, and I don't know if they even follow some of the blokes that comment on us, but your sunglasses on Monday caused a stir. Yeah. Do you want to have an answer to that?
Yeah, I told you they were blue. Maybe they didn't come across right on the screen, but I bleed blue. Week of Origin, so I had a blue shirt on and blue glasses. But yeah, I don't know how I can take to them. I sort of agree with some of the comments. I don't know if they were a hit or not.
But do you? Yeah, okay. I'm not going to.
I don't know if they were a hit or not. I have to try something. And you know what? I don't give a fuck.
Most people that say they bleed blue wouldn't back an opposition team at the start of the series. But I know you do bleed blue. You put blood, sweat and tears in that jumper.
Well, I had the blue sunnies on, mate. I had blue sunnies on, and I don't know if they were a hit. When I wear them to the beach, I sort of like them. They've got a bit of something about them, but I'm not sure if it come up as well on the podcast. But as we talk about all the time, we're on a journey. We live, we learn, we fail, we succeed, and maybe that was a little, maybe it was a little failure. Here we are again today. Here we are again today. Back on the podcast.
We back up. We go again. Oh yeah,
we back up. We go again.
Just because we've got
good deed, bad
obviously
deed.
there's not as many games this weekend, so I want to have a little bit of fun today.
All right, mate.
Yeah,
I'm always up for fun.
It's not really fun. I just want to. I just want, and we can maybe get some captions of some baguettes, some pain de chocolat, croissant, some poulet, some coffee. Run us through. I know you work at Catlands.
What the fuck's coffee?
I don't know. That's how you pronounce it sometimes.
That's how you used to say it when you were drunky. Coffee.
Yeah, I didn't ask for coffee. That's for sure.
100%. Coffee with vodka in it.
All right. So you're working at Catlands. How's that going? But also, run me through it. This is for the real footy nerds. Everyone wants to know what you get up to during the day. I know you're about to have a baby, but I want to go back to relaxing Mitch. How much time do you spend on the daybed at a beach bar? I know you don't. Obviously, you don't drink. But run us through a day in the life of Mitchell Pearce in Canay.
Yeah, well, I started helping out with the Dragons about a month ago. So last couple of weeks, the boys have been going a bit better. They're in a hole. It's been a bit of a tough year, but had a good win on the weekend. So I ran the blue shirt, so I'm pretty sure it was all to do with my messages. That's what I'm telling myself anyway. The boys played well. Ran the blue shirt last two home games. But, yeah, I'm just helping out casually. Joel's a good fellow guy that you play with, Joel Tompkins. He's taken over. He's doing a really good job. So he asked me to come in and help out, and I'm really grateful for that. Other than that, mate, just chilling. A few local friends. Obviously, the baby is about 2 months away. So it's getting real now. So we're honestly just preparing for that. Move house in about
chilling. What do you do?
What do you do for lunch, Mitch? Where do you go for lunch? Do you cook?
So I get up. Normally I go to the Pain de Jour. Pain de Jour bakeries, as Toddy would know, and anyone that's listening that's French on the footy nerds. Bakeries are a big thing in Europe. Obviously, you got bakeries in Sydney and Queensland, Australia. But as you know, Toddy, it's more of a culture here. So I go into the Pain de Jour.
Yeah.
Un café, un croissant. That's my order.
Is that your breakfast every day?
Sometimes I have eggs. There's other cafes you can go, but usually I'll have a croissant and a coffee. Sometimes I don't have breakfast, to be honest. I'll just have a coffee. Lunch, if I'm with the team, I'll go in, hang around the boys for a bit, just do the thing at footy, and then go for lunch. And mate, honestly, the pace of life over here, as you know. So just to give the viewers an example, the biggest differences for me from Europe to Australia is just the pace of life, especially in Perpignan. People don't live to hustle as much. It's more about living in the present moment. Clearly, people work like everywhere, but especially in summer, it's a slower paced life. You know, it's a lot more relaxed. Obviously, a beach lifestyle, and yeah, people aren't as in much of a rush as they are in big cities. So just taking it easy, brother.
Frog legs and shit.
Snails occasionally, but it's not something. The food's good. I think Australian food's great, and you got a big wide range. But I think in Europe, the way they eat is a better experience. Like I was only there last night down at Canay, where your Toddy used to live, and the family.
I lived in Rue de la Soif.
Well, that's where my missus' family's got the restaurant. There's Toddy's footprint is still down there. They got photos on the windows, most wanted. It's Todd's head. It's been up there since I got here. But they got the restaurant down there, so I spend most times down there. But as I was saying, like you go down there last night, about 10:30, I walked over to go to the beach, which is close to Rue de Soir, as you said, where the restaurants are. Mate, there's hundreds and hundreds of people just cruising around 10:30, 11 at night. So I'd love to see Australia. Like Australia's one of the best countries in the world, and I love Australia. I'd love to see Australia, especially in Queensland. I suppose they do it a little bit more than Sydney. But we struggle to get entertainment at night during the week. Like, as in, I don't know, they can't. They obviously have licenses around beach bars and stuff like that in Australia where they can't do it. But in Europe, they've actually got, you know, like Mexico and South America, the same. They've got the beach bars that are put onto the beach. So a lot of the businesses that are in the city go down and do their business on the beach because that's where everyone is in summer. I don't understand why they don't do that in Australia. Imagine Bondi Beach, Coogee Beach, all the beaches up there in Queensland with the beach bars, and all the businesses from the city that aren't doing as well in winter are down on the beach. There's one for you. There must be a license around it. But yeah, I love the way people eat their food over here. They take their time. That's the two comparisons. They do. They take their time. You would have noticed that when you were here. They take their time. Where we just, in Sydney, well, I'm the worst. I'm eating my food in 2 minutes. Boom, 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 done.
That's what dinner's for.
Yeah, but you should take your time. Doucement. Slow. Doucement. There's another French word for you.
Stick your time at your ass and eat my dinner and get away from the table.
I reckon the footy nerds have just clocked. I reckon the footy nerds have just turned off the podcast.
Fucking footy nerds just fell asleep.
Well, you asked me to give a bit of insight, and that's all I had.
You gave us
nothing
nothing.
else really exciting going on.
You gave us nothing.
I'll tell you who I did speak to today. Anthony Minicello, he's over here. He's travelling.
Oh, is he?
But we're going to try and catch up tomorrow, but it's too far to get there, and I've got a few things on. But yeah, the great Anthony Minicello's in Europe. Geez, he'd be looking tanned.
He would be.
Oof.
You been training?
I've been training heaps. Yeah, I'm actually going to go do jiu-jitsu tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Haven't done much of it. Is your little fella
Are you going to play?
jiu-jitsu?
Are you going to play?
Nah, there was an opportunity. It was tossed up. I think it was more of a fantasy, but it's hard over here with the quota spots, man. I'm too old. But I train. I jump in with the boys at training a bit, just do a pose. Obviously, the B team doesn't have many halves or much depth, so I jump in a bit every now and then, carve them up, toddy, But
that's a good topic to talk of. You talk about jumping into training and stuff, and I don't know if you would have seen it, but this week, obviously, like when any team's under a bit of pressure, some stories come out of training, and there's some stories come out of West Tigers camp that Benji and Adam Doueihi had a heated confrontation at training because Benji jumps into the second team here and there, and I think we heard it maybe the start of pre-season, someone say that Benji jumped in and laid on 3 or 4 tries, and we had a giggle about it. Yeah, we had a giggle about it, saying, if Benji's laying on tries, which obviously is one of the greats, and you wouldn't be ashamed if you did lay on tries, but it's not saying much about your defensive if your coach is laying on tries. But apparently him and Adam Doueihi had a heated confrontation, and they're saying that there's unrest at the club with some players, with Benji. Richardson's come out and had a smart remark to him or to the club about the current juniors coming through. As you know, in rugby league where there's smoke, there's fire. There's obviously starting to put pressure on him from other ends. Obviously, we spoke about on Tuesday about that they're not going well. They've lost their last 6 games. They've won 5 out of 5 this season. And there's obviously pressure put on. What's your thoughts with Benji? Do you think Benji's the coach to take the West Tigers forward, or do they need a change, or what's going on? Because obviously he's not in his own, the position he's in with, obviously a club not going well. There's heaps of change going on here at the Titans. Ezra Howe, their recruitment managers, leaving and off to the North Bears. So he's not the only club.
What's his name?
Ezra Howe. Yeah.
Well, I reckon the argument that Richardson's talking about local juniors, I played in the Balmain comp when I was a younger kid, North Ryde. Back then, the Balmain comp was huge. The Balmain comp used to be one of the best comps in Sydney. And then in the 80s, 90s, especially early 2000s, they had a good footy area. Inner West, there was a good rugby league area. And then obviously a lot of these comps now, they merge. I know the Bondi, one of the teams in Bondi, the Eastern Suburbs teams, are now in the Balmain comp. Balmain comp's now in South region down at Cogra and that type of stuff. So all the comps are all joined up. So it's easy for Richardson to say use local juniors, but if rugby league's not blooming as much there, well, you can only work with what you got. I haven't looked into it enough what they've got coming through and if they're losing players. Obviously, the last 10, 15 years, they've lost a heap of local juniors. Mitch Moses was Holy Cross kid. Aaron Woods was there. They lost a lot of local juniors over the last 15 years. So it has been a problem for the club. So unless he's talking about that, or that he still sees lots of good juniors at the moment that are getting overlooked, and then Benji's going out to buy players, who knows? That could be what the argument's about. But to answer your question, I think if Benji fails this year and they don't have a good back end of the year, if this next 10 games keeps going how it's been going, well, they have to ask questions. And I think the thing with the Tigers is, like me and you were only saying the other day how confused we were about, like, I felt like the Tigers were doing better than what they were. When I saw the stats of what the actual results are, I feel like every week we've been trying to see the good in them on the podcast, because obviously Jerome's been doing better things with the ball.
Well, there's been improvement. There's been improvement,
but then there sort of hasn't.
They won some games at the start of the year. Obviously, we spoke about Terrell May's stats a lot. We spoke about Jerome Luai's influence. We spoke about Api Coruscant. We spoke about the brilliance of Buller. We spoke about Adam Doueihi in and out. Obviously, there was a lot of topics speaking about Lockie Galvin. Things like that was obviously them topics were taking away the flaws and what's going on at the club. Obviously, as you put it pretty bluntly, they've lost their last 6 games. So any team that's lost their last 6 games is going to have pressure put on them, which is obviously where Benji finds himself at the moment. And it's the same thing is you always think to yourself is, okay, well, if someone, say for clubs when they swap, they decide to get rid of their coach, who's next? Like, I'd like to actually know. I'd like to actually. The Telegraph runs a lot of stories, or the news runs a lot of stories. I'd like to actually have a back page column, or if we can find, I don't even know how it's possible to find out who is the active coaches out there, or the inactive because they're not coaching but are willing to take roles in the NRL, because it'd be an interesting one, because I've seen Freddie obviously knock back the Australian job.
What was the chat behind that? Was there something in that?
He said that he looked into it and he's happy with the role he's doing.
Yeah, just said he's happy at 9, essentially.
At 9, essentially.
He's pretty comfortable, Freddie, I reckon.
Cam Smith's obviously put he's interested to sit down and have a conversation about the role. I think he'd be great. I think he'd be a great club coach at some time, and if that's where it would lead to him, or if it was just an Australian coach. But, like, I don't know. Like, there's people in the wings, and obviously, you know, the guys over in the UK. There's a few over there. There's some coaches been in the UK that's come back. Like, I'd like to know what the list of coaches out there that if your job, say if I was the owner of, say, the West Tigers, who is the coaches out there that are willing to put their hand up and take the roles? It'd be interesting to see how many is out there, because I reckon there'd be more than what we think, because we always just talk about the select few. I reckon there's heaps out there just toiling through the either lower grades, Super League, or guys that are interested about putting their hand up. Obviously, we can't just put any Tom, Dick and Harry in, but successful players.
I've got one for you, Toddy.
I've got a list here, Toddy, if you want me to list some potential coaches.
Yeah.
I don't know about necessarily, you know, if they'd take the job at Tigers, but you got Josh Hannay, currently assistant coach for Queensland and Cronulla. Dean Young, assistant coach at the Dragons. Listing Mick Innes. Obviously, there's rumours of him helping out at Manly now. Matt Bowen, assistant coach for Queensland and
Matt Bowen, the fullback.
Matt Bowen.
Oh, Matt Bowen, sorry. I think you said Matt Bowen.
Matt King, former assistant coach at South Sydney. And then obviously you got former players, Sam Burgess, Cameron Smith. Yeah, these are kind of just top.
Yeah, so there's a lot of
is there as well. My thing I was going to say, Toddy, like they had Madge there a couple of years ago. Well, they had Ivan Cleary who left. That Tim Sheens was their most successful coach. Like for the success in the footy that they were playing when he was there, they won the comp, and then they had some really good years. When Benji and all those guys were there, they weren't premierships every year, but they were playing good footy. They had Madge there, who's one of the hardest coaches and defensive systems, but they couldn't defensively play well consistently, and he's one of the best. And then they've gone from Jason Taylor, Mick Potter was there, now Benji. Like, I don't know. It's the same old question with the Tigers, but like you just said, do you regurgitate, you flick Benji and then you bring someone else in? You know, like, is it recruitment, or is it the dynamics of the group, or is it the board? Like, what is it? Because you're not going to get anyone harder that trains the boys harder than Madge. They whinged about that by all reports, that Madge was too hard. they had a little bit of improvement. I feel like when Madge was there, they were competing probably harder than they have over the last 10 years. And then you go and bring Benji in, who's all out attack, and they've had definitely improvement in that area. But it's still just not getting the results. Like, it's about winning and being a top 8 side, a top 8 force, and then eventually winning a comp. They haven't made the finals in how long, Gabe? So I don't know. I don't know. Ivan Cleary was there. Ivan Cleary's won 4 comps. I know it was before he was sort of went on his dynasty, but he'd made grand finals at the Warriors when he went there. He'd had a good coaching record when he went there. Obviously left to go to Penrith.
Or do we just have to accept that the teams at the bottom of the ladder that always continue to be at the bottom of the ladder will always be at the bottom of the ladder?
That's sort of what I'm getting at. I don't think
last played finals in 2011.
2011. It's 15 years. What's that? 15.
13 years ago.
13 years.
14 years ago.
14, yeah.
Yeah. I sort of tend to agree with Toddy, like where they're at the moment, Titans and Tigers, they're just not good enough. Like, honestly, they're just not good enough. But how do you get them good enough? Like, if the way it's leveled out now with the salary cap, is it because of the board? Is it because the club doesn't have enough money to do the whole to fund all the back end? I don't understand that stuff enough, but I don't understand how.
Well, no,
or is it just what's unattractive that they can't produce good talent or get guys to want to come there? Clearly, losing turns people away. But over 13 years, how can you not have some sort of improvement or growth? Or like, I don't have the answer.
Do you think there's enough talent pool to bring in the North team than the PNG team?
No, I don't agree with it all.
Ooh.
Like, I think it's great that we're expanding. I've said this. I think
100% it's great we're expanding, but
we've had a conversation a few times about this. Like, you're gonna, like you just said, your bottom sides now don't have the talent pool to compete with the top 10 sides. Then you bring in another 2 teams. A lot of those sides are going to be almost filled with a couple of fair few reserve grade players.
But
that's why it goes back to that argument
like
about Super League and buying into Super League.
There's also plenty of fullbacks who can't get a run in the NRL that probably could. You know what I mean? Like those key positions, there's people waiting in the wings who can't get a start over elite players who could probably find a team.
But their coaches see something we don't see.
Well, that's all. Yeah, you'd know better than me too. True.
And that's when it comes out, doesn't it, Toddy? When you're playing week to week. It comes
out when you play week to week. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the mercenary players or players that aren't getting a start, like Toddy just said, there's usually an underbelly and then they get exposed if they've got to be that main guy. A lot of the reason that players aren't playing week to week and they're in and out is because they don't deal with the pressure. And then a lot of the time, it could be someone's literally behind a Tedesco and they're a first grade, they're just not getting a start. But the majority of them are finding another club.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happened with a lot of players but also that's just the Storm, like the Storm system. A lot of good players have come out of the Storm system and gone on to be stars of their club. You know what I mean? But that probably says more about the Storm than anything.
Very, very true, Gabe. Very true. Well, there's lots to dissect and talk about there. Obviously, we wanted to fill in bits and pieces, and it was a topic that we need to talk about because obviously there's lots of coaches under pressure and there's lots of coaches waiting in the wings by the sounds of what Gabe presented to us. I'm with Mitch. I do think it's great for the game that we're growing the game, but players, I don't think we've got enough to fill in. Sustain quality teams because we've got too many poor teams at the moment as it is. Like all these teams that are at the bottom of the ladder or struggling to find a win are getting so much pressure put on them. And it's always around, they don't have the star-studded players that other teams do. And then you go bring 2 more teams in. Star-studded players will go to them teams, but there won't be the same sort of results, I reckon. But the game is about making money and growing the game, expanding the game to have more eyes on the game. Well, it's a tick in the right direction. Let's dive into...
Shout out to Matty Johns. Gabe gave us a little insight the other day. He gave us a little shout out about our podcast. So thank you, Matty. The old Backstage podcast. Shout out to the boys there. Great Matty Johns and Cooper. It's always good to get nice compliments. He gave us a compliment. So we'll just shout out to the Backstage podcast, Dotty.
Yes, thank you, Matty. Obviously, Matty's a legend. I work closely with Matty. I put a lot of my football knowledge and the the way I played down to Matty Johns. He come down to Canberra. The great Matt Elliott got Matty Johns to come down and do a bit of work with me, and I've always been close since. Well, not close. Obviously, I've jumped on his show a few times and love watching and listening to him. I think when you talk about coaches, I'd love to see him swap the Fox Sports seat and put it in the coach's seat, and I reckon he'd have some great success as a coach. Also, his brother. I know his brother talks about that he doesn't have the head noise capacity to be a head coach, but I reckon he'd be also great. Let's dive into round 18 review. And the first game of the weekend is the Dogs v. the Broncos. And before we start, actually, can we get a score update on the Cheddar and how we're tracking? I've got my Cheddar pick for the week. Give us a score, Gabe.
Cheddar update. Toddy 9, Mitch 8.
Oh!
Come on,
Let's say for the
week.
record,
like
last
them
time we did a
uploads,
Cheddar
boy?
update.
Can I call my
Toddy
Cheddar now
said he
then?
picked someone else and he didn't.
Can I call my Cheddar now for this week? I'm going straight off the block.
Oh, first game.
Yeah. Is that what you've got? Have you got that in mind, Toddy?
You go.
I'm going Broncos to beat Dogs.
Very good.
Wow, that's an underdog?
It's an underdog, yeah, that's what I mean. I'm taking the underdog. I think Dogs, the way they played last week.
Are you sure Broncos aren't favourites?
No,
I'll double check. I would be surprised.
Well, hang on a second.
Double
Dogs
check,
have got. Well, they got Payne has to be out. Carrigan will be out, but Crichton's out for Dogs. Who else is out?
No, yeah, Dogs are favourites. Dogs are favourites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Not a bad bet. Not a bad bet, mate.
It's a big call from me, but it's confident Broncos against the Dogs that are expected to win. Just saying those names that are out for Origins made me half second guess what I just said for my Cheddar. Payne Haas, Carrigan, Shibasaki, Reece Walsh in the squad. But Reece Walsh will play. He'll be in the squad, won't he? Or will he name 19th man? He's the 18th man.
He's named 18, so he won't.
But he still play? No, he won't be playing. No. So it's a big ask, but I'm going to back the Cheddar on Broncos. I'm just going to do it because I think they're confident. There's something about them. They're starting to come good. Is it 4 in a row they've won, I think, the last 4 games?
3 for the Broncos.
3 for the Broncos. And the Dogs will be bashed up a bit after last week. They also would have grown a lot out of that game. We only spoke about it last week. Even though they went down to Penrith, I think they would have got more out of it than Penrith did. Penrith would have got the confidence that they got. They're just getting wins up, and that I don't think they would have. They know that at their best they're a better side than most teams. So I think for them it was more around just the confidence of getting results and wins, so they can climb up the ladder. But I reckon with the Dogs they would have got a lot out of that, of how to play next time. But I reckon they'll be a bit bashed up. I'm going Broncos.
Yes. I'm going to go for the Dogs. I'm going to go for the Doggies because I know how many players are out for the Broncos, and they're the ones that's obviously led the charge of how they've been going. It's actually good to see the depth at the Broncos. We've just been speaking about clubs and new clubs coming in, and Origin time, it's always good to see depth of clubs in their positions. Obviously, the positions that they need to be filled are their star-started positions because that's why they're in Origin. Their star-started players leave to go for Origin, so it's always a good insight to see. But I think the Dogs will be too strong for them. They'll be too steely. They'll have a little bit too much for the Broncos, but obviously any team that's still got Adam Reynolds in there is a tough team to beat. He'll have them ready to go, kicking them around the park, turning the Doggies team around. But I believe the Doggies will come up trumps in this one, Mitch, and your Cheddar will fail. So I'm sorry.
I'm a bit nervous, to be honest. It's a big call, that.
A few outs for both teams.
Yeah.
Every team's...
Kiraz, Mann, Max King, Crichton.
Yeah, Max King.
And then obviously Shiba, Carrigan, Payne Haas, Reece Walsh for Bronx. What are your thoughts at Cobbo at fullback coming in for the Broncos?
Well, I think it's good for Cobbo to be at fullback. Obviously, he's been in and out. He's already decided he's 2026, which is a strange one, a one-year deal at the Dolphins. I think it's a massive signing for the Dolphins for him next year, for them as a club. Obviously, the 1 year is obviously maybe just backing himself to see what he'll get out in the market after that. But I think it's a great signing, either or for the Dolphins, because you go there on a 1 year deal, you're going to work your backside off because you don't know what's coming in 27, or does he know what's coming in 27? But either way, he'll be going there and work hard. He'll have a point to prove. I think he'll do well at fullback. He was playing fullback before he got dropped, or was his hand, they said at first, but obviously there's more going on for the club not to want him. Obviously, they've got a lot of players that they need to retain. Talk about the retain and retention of players. It must be a tough job for obviously to work out what's coming, what's going, and to work out who you want to keep, because obviously juggling the salary cap and obviously trying to fend off clubs and new clubs coming in. So it'd be a tough gig. I was only listening to someone talk about what the actual role requires to be those roles, and there's a lot in it. It's not just walking around looking at players at school footy camps and things like that. It's a lot more than that. You're dealing and juggling with the boards, management, managers, players, all different walks things. So you actually got to be a bit of a chameleon and jump in and out of other people's pockets and try and sit on the fence and ask questions. Yeah, you are a car salesman, used car salesman, but used football salesman.
You really are.
Yeah.
You really are. Was there any talk around George Williams going to the Dolphins?
They're saying, there's talk in the news at the moment that who Warrington are chasing. So it's a $400,000 transfer fee that they'll have to pay. And I know the Dolphins have got a lot of cash. I don't know where that falls in the cap or what it actually looks like. That's above my pay grade. But I know Warrington are on the lookout they've had a list of players. I think it was Lewis Dodd, but he hasn't been getting a start over here. There was Brad Schneider. There was Jake Clifford. There was Jacko Hastings for next year, yeah, for Jackson Hastings. So before we do jump into any other games, I'd like to just a message to Jackson Hastings. Lost his mum this week, which is horrible news. I seen him post something last night. I sent him a message and I actually didn't know what to even write, but I just want to send a massive condolence to Jacko and his family. Hope he's doing okay. I know he's had a tough year, but at the end of the day, rugby league is a small part of people's lives when stuff like this goes on. So we wish you well, Jack, and hope you're doing right, and obviously your family too, because it's never a nice moment. So we wish you well, mate. Hope you're doing well. Stay strong, brother. And our phones are always on. It's a sad time for Jacko and his family.
Yeah, hang strong, mate. Sorry to hear, mate, and it's horrible news.
And to our next game, the Raiders v. the Dragons, down at Canberra Stadium. Both teams also, not really the Dragons, aren't affected by the origin too much, but Raiders, their leading pack, Big Papa Lee's out of retirement to jump into the Queensland camp for Game 3. Hudson Young. This will be a good game. I like this game. Obviously, Canberra down there is always a tough challenge. Dragons had a good win last weekend. Flano have them ready to go down there against his old mate Sticky. How do you see it playing out, and who do you like?
Yeah, I'm on the Raiders here. I think Raiders will be way too good. I liked what I saw in Dragons last week. We spoke about Flanagan and how much pressure's been on him. Kyle Flanagan, he played really well last week, played really square, really competed. He's just got to find his little niche that works for him, doesn't it? We speak about it all the time, but just be good at what he does. Don't try and spread yourself too wide. Just play square, run the ball well and kick well. And he did that last week. I thought he handled the pressure really well. Must be hard for him there, obviously. Your dad's the coach and you're copping heaps of shit. So I thought he did really well last week. But I just don't think they'll have enough for the Canberra Raiders. Raiders are the best team in the comp at the moment, I think. Or at least in the top two. Their offloads and their outside backs, the speed of their outside backs where they can score from anywhere is just going to pull the Dragons apart, I think. I just think they'll be too lethal. And I think the Dragons, as much as we just gave Flano a rap for his game last week, I just think Dragons on the back foot haven't got the game to get they haven't got the game or players to pull themselves back into an arm wrestle. You know, things are going all right for them with momentum. Cookie out of dummy half, Gutho playing with high energy, and Flano playing solid
Val Holmes
on
will
the
be
front
out of the
foot.
Dragons team.
And he's out as well. He's their strike. So I just think Canberra will blow him off the park.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'll stick with the Raiders. As you know, you say you bleed blue. I bleed green.
We know
green
that.
this week. Yeah, bleed green this week.
Sick of looking at that jersey behind you.
What one? The Roosters one, the Sharks one, the
Canberra one. It's just right in my vision.
What?
What's the sponsor there? Canberra
just like your flashlight was in my night of your blue glasses the other day. So shut up.
Elton John. It's gonna be a long, long time.
Talking on the Raiders, you know what I like about the Raiders, I'm going to single him out, is Ethan Strange, the 6.
Wow.
I like him. He's going to be an unbelievable player. Do you reckon he stays a 6, or do you reckon he gets bigger and moves to a 13? I'd like to see him in the middle of the field because as we speak about with him, he sits on that left side of the field a lot. Obviously, because Jamal's a dominant right side player. Ethan Sanders next year will come into the fold, so it might change a little bit more of a roaming half. But I'd like to see him pop up in other parts of the field, through the middle. I know they bring him back underneath through the old Panther play, so the back row leads and on the out, and he comes back through the middle of the field. But it'd be interesting time where he finishes in his career at 6 or 13, but he's an unbelievable player and young. We talk about we don't have young halves in the game. To name a few, he's up there with the best of them, that's for sure. Obviously, Katoa's the benchmark in that, but Ethan Strange, obviously completely different players, different styles, but he's a class player.
Yeah, great player. Talking about Katoa, he'd play great outside Katoa. They'd be a good combo. No, I love him. I was going to say, we're talking about the climate change and the world going to end. If the world ends and I come back, I'd love to be a 5'8" lock in the way game is now. Just the way the game's going now. I just love the whole responsibility of a ball running 5'8" lock if I was a bit bigger. I just think it's such a good position, such an influential position nowadays. And as you said, Ethan Strange could play that role easily. I'd rather keep him at 6 for a while, maybe back end of his career. But I love that. I love the way the game's going now, that 5'8" lock type of ball playing role. Like they're almost your best players if you structure it right around those players. It's gone in phases, hasn't it? You know, Jimmy Dimmicks, these type of guys in the late 90s, 2000s were those ball playing 5'8" locks. Jason Smith, your old teammate. But I think it's going back to that way a bit. I don't know. If the world ends, climate change. I'm coming back 100 kilos, a bit taller, and playing 5'8" lock. Freddie Fittler, I forgot him. Freddie Fittler was the best at that role. 5'8" lock. Freddie Fittler.
An interesting one. How do you boys view the lock position? What is your ideal lock look like? Does it need to be a bigger body? Because I know I was listening
Depends
to
how you're playing,
Connor Watson said his ideal position for himself would be 13, and Connor Watson's not a big tall man himself.
No, but he's super strong. It depends how the team plays, in my opinion. I reckon some of them can overpass the ball, where they get caught. We spoke about it before, when they get caught in that Yowie type role, where Yoey's so smart and intelligent how he does it that it looks like everyone can do it, but he's doing it at the right time. He knows who he's working on. He has the right
Some
tempo.
13s can get pass happy.
They get pass happy. I
and they
hate
think
pass
that
happy
it
locks.
becomes their team.
I hate it.
Then you look at a lot of younger coaches. They try and coach the way NRL teams play, i.e. the Panthers when they try and play that out the back plays off Yowie all the time, and then they're trying to do this with the younger players coming through because they think that's how it works. But it's a lot harder than what it looks like, because Isaiah plays like a front row, but he's got a pass option. It skips across the field. He knows when to pass, knows when to run. I like Connor Watson as a 13 because he's got different options, but he jumps on the back of quick play the balls. He can go into 9 if he needs to. There's so many different ways to play 13, and it's just the way the club, your club is, and how the coach wants us to be played. Because every club has their 13s different at the moment.
Yeah, sometimes if you've got really dominant halves, you just want your lock to be an extra big body, don't you? Just to get you forward. You don't want him passing.
And he's a little bit fitter than a front rower. You can use him up a little bit more if you need a lazy inside trail and he's over the other side of the ruck. You can yell out to him and they can move a little bit faster than your front rowers. There's so many different options you can have as a 13 game.
Good stuff.
Brad Clyde, Toddy's man, the lock. Brad Clyde, he was just...
He was grouse.
How good was he?
Over to our next game of the weekend is the Cowboys v the Storm up there in North Queensland. Storm, obviously, with a few Origin players out. Cowboys the same. Both coming off wins from last weekend. How do we see this playing out and who wins? Mitchell.
Yeah, Storm for me. I just think Cowboys, they played well last week, even though the game came down to the wire. Titans sort of got themselves back into the game. I'm not sure how. Obviously, Scott Drinkwater was unbelievable. 3 tries, assists. He's their great white hope this week. Obviously, Storm have got Munster out in Origin. And
Stefano Ikamano.
Outs for both teams. Storm, Munster, Grant.
Grant
goes out too. Coates.
Yeah.
And then outs for Cowboys, obviously, pretty much all their good players. Nanai, Robson, Cotter, Dearden.
Yeah, Storm will be too good. Even without their main players, they've still got the architect, Jerome, and Pappenhausen there, and Katoa. How good was he last week in the back row? So they'll be going to him every chance they can get. But yeah, I think the hope on Cowboys is on Drinkwater. It'll be all on Drinkwater to come up with a good footy with Dearden out. So, but yeah. The Cowboys' defence gives me no confidence. They've defensively been so poor. Obviously, even last week, they got the result, but they still let the Titans into the game, and we know where the Titans are at. So, and then weeks before that, they were just leaking close to 60, 70, 80 points over a few weeks. So, Storm will have a field day, I reckon.
Yeah, I'm with you. I reckon Storm will have a field day.
It should have been my cheddar. Fuck.
Why?
Because it's an easy win. Would have got from 9-8. I would have gone to 9-9. Even bet with my mate.
Well, mine's going to win, so I don't know what you're talking about. So you always be behind me.
Sweet, we'll see.
Surely there's 2 easy wins back to back there, Mitch. You picked the hardest out of the first 3.
There's calculated risk.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's not a calculated risk. He just went off gun-ho cocky and didn't realise what he's even doing. So he obviously hasn't done the study on the teams.
Calculated risk.
Storm win. The next game is the Roosters v the Tigers, and my cheddar for the week is the Sydney Roosters.
Fuck, that's easy.
Calculated risk. No, I think the Roosters win. Actually, is that Dave Martin, our great friend Dave Martin's Coogee Courtyard Cafe yesterday with the wife and the 2 kids, and over across from me on the 2 tables up was Hugo Savala.
Oh, yeah?
He's a big boy.
Tall.
He's massive. Tall. Yeah. Sitting there with his beautiful partner. I didn't say hello to him. Don't know him from a bar of soap, but obviously he probably doesn't know me from a bar of soap, but I know the face.
He would have been in more of you.
Please, he would have been 4.
He didn't say hello. He didn't speak. He's a good kid, Hugo. Great
you know what my kids are like, Mitch. You can't speak while you're at breakfast. You have to. I have to control my little fella. He's like a fucking sheepdog.
That was Big Davo. What a man.
He wasn't there, Dave. I messaged him before I went down there, but he wasn't there. He would have been busy. He's got 150 cafes.
You get up to Tarasco?
Sydney. No, I didn't go to Tarasco's. I went to...
Missed that place.
I went to the Century on Sunday or Monday night with the great Roger Fabry and his family, and then I went to the Harvest Buffet. Yeah. Roger's a legend.
Rog?
Yeah, he's good. He's funny. But yeah, it's my cheddar. Let's talk about my cheddar, the Roosters. Obviously, they do have some players out of Origin. Tigers also, Jerome Luai will be out. They've got a lot of injuries. I think the Roosters win and they win easy. Tedesco's still in their team. They've still got their halves. How long is Sammy Walker till he's back? Must be
I don't
gonna be
know.
long.
We had a
I'll
coffee
do a
with
little
him too, so
research
it'd
in
be
the background here.
good to get that coffee interview, that little chat we had with Sammy out soon, huh?
Yeah, well, we've had some gems. Obviously, the gems views aren't as great, but we do get a lot of good comments and people tuning into our Instagram when we do post some gems about life and footy.
Footy
great
nerds. We've got about 8,000 followers on Instagram. We've put up some of the best halves of all time to interview. Get on and watch it. Get in the car and watch it. Kieran Foran's especially on the weekend.
Not about get in the car and watch it. Get in the car and listen.
Listen.
Sorry, yeah. You don't want to crash the car.
Sam Walker expected back round 19.
So next week.
Yeah. Yep.
Good little gems from him too when we release that. But yeah, Roosters will be easy beats, easy wins here, won't they? They got Tigers. They got Buller out, Jerome Hughes out, Appy out. Jerome Luai, sorry, Appy out, and
Heath Mason, De Silva's gone.
De
Silva's gone to the
They're in a world
Parramatta.
of hurt. They're in a world of hurt. And who's the half next year? You speak about Benji staying on without just keep kicking the dog when he's down. If Benji's coach or not coach, Richardson argument with Benji. They've lost Galvin. Who's the halves next year?
Oh, there's talk that they look leaning towards with Farner. There's got that young Mason still there. Obviously, they've got Luai. I don't know if they go to the market. There's players on the market. Obviously, you've got Jake Clifford. Jackson Hastings been there before. There's Lewis Dodd if they want to control in 7. And then play Luai 6. Brad
Tigers
Snyder's
fans
off contract
seem
at
to be
the end
pretty
of
hot on Farner.
26.
Brad Snyder's a good pick-up.
Yeah.
If you can
But
get in.
Yes.
Roosters are good footy at the moment. Geez, they'll be good. They haven't been hurt too hard with Origin, really, have they? Like, obviously.
No, they've got young
Crichton
players
and
that can come
Connor.
in and fill their positions. Crichton, Connor,
Which are 2 big losses, but it doesn't affect
Lindsay
too much
Collins.
around their spine. Oh, yeah, Lindsay too.
They still have a few out, but they got a few young blokes coming, biting at the bit, ready to go. So I think the Roosters will still handle a depleted Tigers team. We'll put more pressure on the club.
I know it's pretty hard to say, boys. Like, everyone's expecting a whitewash here, but where can teams score points against the Roosters? Is there any opportunity? If there was an opportunity, where could they take it, the Tigers?
Oh, the Roosters' edges are still vulnerable at times. Like, as good as they've been playing and improving, they've
Rob
still got
Toya's out too.
Rob Toyer out. I think you can get them in their edges at times. Like, they're just fucking big and powerful and fast. Robbo's got them going, but Tigers can create space. Like, we only spoke about it last week. Who would you pick?
If I was the Tigers, I would lay the side big marky marks on and try and put pressure on him, make him make decisions, bring him up out of his line, make him second guess himself, have a shot, go away from him, then double up with him down a short side, make him work. If he comes forward, kick the ball behind him, and then on play 5, put pressure on him, kick to him, take him out of play 1 carry. We've seen in games this year that when you put him under pressure of the high ball, he comes up with a few errors. But also, even if he catches the ball, it takes him out of that play 1 carry. I know on the other side of the field, you got Daniel Tupou. He's a tough play 1, but he's got a long way to come. And then obviously you got Teddy, Billy Smith, and players like that. But if I was the Tigers, I would put all my chips on the basket, on the table, and just play down Marky Mark's side and put pressure on him, make him make decisions.
It's not a bad shout. They need to try something, don't they? Like, they have to have some sort of strategy because they're not going to win just playing the power game.
And the final game of the weekend, because it's Origin, it's Manly v South at 4 Pines Park. It feels like they've played 1,000 games there this year. They're coming off a great win after last weekend. South with a few injuries, but I spoke about it during the week. Jacko Hastings is at number 6 with
Jack Whiten.
Jack Whiten. I'm thinking of Jack Hastings. Jack Whiten's at 6 for the Bunnies this weekend. I think he'll do well there. I don't know if he'll do well enough to beat a Manly team with DCE firing in the halves. But I think this will be a great game. Both teams fighting to stay in around the 8. Players injured, players out for Origin. But
Trell's out, yeah.
the Trell's out for South. Obviously, Manly's pretty much full strength. with barring the injury they've got.
Oh.
They don't.
They've got Alex Johnson listed as fullback here. Yeah, I didn't see
We
that.
might get a couple of tries again. Get that record sooner than we think. At fullback.
No Jai Gray.
Manly 4 Pines Park, too good. Sort of, if they're going to go for their run, what are they coming, Manly, at the moment? They're not as bad as you think, eh? They're sort of the alternative.
Manly in ninth.
That's what I mean. They're not that bad. Like, they've sort of gone under the radar a bit. Not going to what everyone expected, but they're not too far off if they can get a bit of a roll on. Jerry Evans last hurrah there. He'd be looking for this next month, especially around Origin and players in and out of Origin. You'd think his headspace would be that he wants to get a jump on everyone for his team. So at home, they're usually pretty good. I think Manly will be too good for South. As you said, Jack Whiten back to 6. Love Jack Whiten. But I just think South are in a bit of a hole at the moment. Only Wayne Bennett said the other day that he reckons they're lacking confidence and a bit of belief, and they can't put an 80-minute performance together. They're going well for halves. Halves of footy, they just can't play 80 minutes. So I just think Manly will capitalise on that. I'm actually excited to watch Manly this week. Purely on the fact
I'm looking forward to this game.
Just see how they go. Like, it's time for them. It's time to pounce. If they don't pounce these next 3 weeks, it's a wasted season.
I'm with you there. I think South will put a lot of pressure on them this weekend. I reckon South will come to play. They know what a Manly team can dish up sometimes, and I reckon they'll try and go to 4 Pines Park with a bit of an ambush mentality, led by Jack Whiten.
Obviously, still not happy with Travojevic in the centres, boys.
Not unhappy with it. This I just spoke about in detail on Tuesday.
We spoke about it in detail, but also when they get the win, if they continue to win and he's in the centres, it'll be a master. Wherever
Let's talk about
plays,
one thing, Toddy.
Well.
Talking about him in the centres, if they're going to have him in centres, he did bits of it last week, and I'm sure he's smarter than us, but having him involved on both sides of the ruck, like those old school centres, if the ball's on the right side, right centre? If the ball's on the left side of the field, right to left shifts, get him on the edges as an extra fullback. And if he doesn't get the ball on that set, we've seen him over and over again at fullback where he just barges over 10 out. Get involved on the shift. If it doesn't work for him and he doesn't get the ball and just take over. Just take the ball up like a hitter. Take the ball up like a front rower. He scored tries 10 out with his power and speed heaps of times. I want to see him involved like that as a centre.
Yeah, you'd have trick plays for him to surprise the team. Wouldn't you sit him out on the right centre and just let him wait for the ball and let the game go to him? He needs to go to the game, or they need to have a game plan that the game comes to him a lot more than it usually would to the right centre because he needs the ball in his hands. We know that. Play one carries he'll always do if he needs to be there, but utilise him as best you can. But also they also need to stick to their game plan and how they play their foot. They like to go down that left side of the field. But I reckon it will work for now. I don't know if it's – who knows? If they continue to win games, it's the right decision. If they don't, they can come back and use the excuse maybe, but time will tell. Oh, yeah, let's go. Let's go. Fan questions. Give it to us.
All right. This one here is from Lyra Jade. How hard is it to roll and adapt to play when your opponent has you against the wall?
That there is a very hard question to answer because we speak about this quite a lot. We talk about playing on the front foot and then when you're playing on the back foot, how you actually play. I spoke about my method to the madness if I was in the halves and still playing today and not sitting here critiquing other halves to gain momentum or get off the back foot, or when a team's strangling me to death, I would still kick to find touch and have the mentality of the team when I do have that cue, have a call go across the team that, yes, they're about to get to play the ball, but we've got 12 defenders in the line. It's time to have that mentality, to hunt mentality, and try and turn the momentum with their defence, not our attack.
Yeah, I love what Toddy said there. You've got to somehow swing momentum through your kicking game. Toddy spoke about it a bit, whether you kick early, who kick on the right, play the balls, try and find space, win that forcings back. But you've got to create ruck speed. So support play, sometimes moving the ball a little bit to create one-on-ones because you need to somehow earn a penalty or create speed in the ruck. But it's a difficult thing to do. But with the 6 agains now and the referees being whistle happy, if you can create one-on-ones and quick play the ball, you're a good chance of getting a 6 again or a penalty out of trouble. So you can swing momentum a lot quicker than you could in our time, couldn't you, Toddy? Can't you, Toddy, now?
Yeah,
it's tough, that old school footy. Fuck, it was hard. We spoke about it a couple of times before, but you'd play in big teams, Roosters days when you're playing against Melbournes and that. Mate, you play down at Melbourne and you're getting suffocated in the corner, you ain't getting the fuck out of there. That was so hard.
That's right.
Next one is from Chris Swain. When did you first realise you have what it takes to play in the NRL? What was the moment?
It's a hard one because obviously as young kids, for me, it's all I wanted to do. I worked hard, worked my backside off. I didn't play Australian schoolboys. A lot of people put their heart and souls into getting picked for Australian schoolboys. And if they make Australian schoolboys, they think they've made it or they're on the trajectory of making it. I did make Australian schoolboys. I was picked up by the Raiders quite young. Started training full-time as a 16, 17-year-old. So the penny probably started to drop then that I realised that I'd make it. But I had a lot of hard work from sort of 16 to 20 to obviously stamp my mark on that. I wasn't always in first grade, I was in and out, so mine was a bit different. But obviously, I knew that I had the ability to do it if I worked hard at it and continued to obviously apply myself to it because I was getting the rewards, I was getting the compliments, I was getting people talking about it, had managers obviously speaking to me at a younger age. So I knew that I had something to offer, but there's still a long way to go before you think you've made it, that's for sure.
Yeah, like Toddy said, I think it was probably about 16 or so you start playing against a few older guys and you start to believe you're a chance. But, yeah, you get belief year after year. The more you play, the more you step up the grades and you find a bit of confidence, then you keep moving up and then it just never stops. But, yeah, I think around 16, 17, you start to get a bit confident. The times you start to play against those rep teams and all that sort of stuff. But, fuck, it feels like a long time ago now.
So it wasn't really a specific moment for you, Mitch, or either of you really, where you kind of went, oh, wow, I can probably do this.
Mine was probably the schoolboys.
Fed into it.
Mine was the schoolboys, New South Wales CCC when we played. I was only young and I played up, and there was a lot of big name players in the juniors, and I remember playing really well. That was probably a breakthrough for me. I'd never really played against those kind of guys. I was playing like park footy and stuff like that. Didn't know how I'd go, but that was a bit of a breakthrough if you think about it, like moments for confidence.
Yeah. And last questions from me, and it's kind of off the back of a bit of fucking heartbreak. Katoa going through the line against Souths last week. As halfbacks, there's probably more, well, obviously there's more thinking going on than a lot of other players on the field. How would Katoa be eyeing off, I think it was Kepi there, like are you eyeing off tired players to take advantage of those opportunities? Are you picking them out when you're doing stuff like that?
Yeah, 100% he is. I think that's the beauty of the stuff he's doing, and Toddy can speak about it after, but like we spoke a fair bit about the triggers. We spoke about Matty Johns, Joey Johns, the education we got coming through and then our own experience, what works for me. I'm sure Toddy is similar. The vision for a half needs to be on those A's and B defenders, and that's what Katoa's doing so well. His starting points are really good. He gets on the A. He usually starts on B, has a runner on his inside, runner on his outside, and then what he's probably doing different to everyone else is because he's got a natural ability to do the tempo, but then also react to the defence. And that play last week when he went through, that's just natural feel and instinct. He didn't, we talk about Kyle Flanagan, for example, playing more square last week, but Kyle can premeditate it, do his run and then pass where he probably hasn't got the vision out the side of his eye to see the sliding defence, to then also have the footwork and then the power to get through the line. So that's the difference with Katoa. Benji had that. Benji could be running sideways, similar to what Toddy was great at it. They could run sideways, show the ball, but at the 45-degree angle out of their eye, they can see a sliding defender and react in a heartbeat. It's a natural instinct, isn't it, Toddy? Everyone can do it. I couldn't do it sideways 45. I didn't have that ability. I could do it better front on, and I could take on the 8 defenders with good footwork. But everyone's got their strengths. But Katoa's ability to feel and then to have the leg power to go through the lines is advantage.
Yeah, it's all about setup play, the way he sets up his plays. And that's for a lot of halves you set up. I talk about it a lot. For me, when I used to drop blokes under, I would mean that I didn't have to chase the ball. So if I crossed someone, he would go square in front of me. I could either go right side of the ruck or left side of the ruck. And I know that I had obviously a wide or the same A and B defenders, and it's the options that I had. But with Katoa, the way he does it, he's got 3 options. He's got his lazy, and he shows that. And then with that lazy, that holds up Kepi. He's got his outside runner, which is a lead runner inside C shoulder, and then he has the runner at the back. So he's got 3 options. The good thing with the beauty of Katoa at the moment is I reckon he's playing for think run first. So he's obviously gone forward, knows he's got his inside lazy runner, and he stops to show. And as he stops to show, Kepi has a pause. So he's cueing his head when he writes his notes during the week. Kefi's going to come at me. He's going to put inside pressure on. So if I stop him a little bit, it means that I can get the Jer and getting on the outside of him. Kepi does stop on the play, but then Katoa continues to go, brushes past him with his right-hand fender and goes through the line. So it's about set-up plays. You've got options. So if Kepi decides to come a lot faster than when he shows inside and Kepi continues to come, Katoa plays lazy and there's a space there. But if Kefi comes in, then this guy here comes too, that means he plays out the back. So you've got options. So for young halves, it's not just, if he shows here, shows there. There's this guy here doing his job, this guy here's doing his job, and then there's Hammer out the back doing the job. So there's 3 options you can actually take. And that's the thing. There's no poor or bad option. I talk this to the kids at Keep. There's no bad option in rugby league. There's the good option, the poor option, and the brilliant option. The brilliant option was to run and get through the second line defence and then pass to the fullback. The poor option was either to play inside and get your inside runner crunch because they've marked him, or the bad or the good options out the back. So there's no bad option. There's the good option, the okay option, and the perfect option. The perfect option was the one he took, and at the moment, Katoa's taken the perfect option more often than not, and that's what we're talking about a lot. Because that play Katoa done on the weekend, a lot of halves are doing it, but taking the wrong option.
So when you're saying there, Toddy,
to me.
Just to get explanation there, you said there's no bad option. Obviously, a bad option's an error, right? If someone's to
a bad option's an error. So,
but you're saying
the bad option when you've got that option is when you got this. Halves tend to go, okay, well, I don't have that, I don't have that, I don't have that. I'm going to do that. And then the winger on the outside listens to his defence. So when we talk about defensive systems, the defensive system to defend that play is if you've got a half coming at me, there's the lazy, so you've got to cover him. You've got the guy that he's squaring up on, which is usually the 4-man. The 3-man's got that lead runner, so he has to bite. You've got the out the back play, which is for the centre to lead to take the fullback, and that's when I say the half. And then he goes the long option. A good winger, defensive winger, follows his centre in, so then he can take that pass when he goes over top. So then the next option is you've got the kick. So if you know that you're, as a defensive centre and a defensive winger, that if his centre bites, the winger bites. Okay, well, I'm going to kick behind you. So that's for homework during the week. Okay, some centres bite and then their wingers hold back. So then that pass option is not. So then you've got the tunnel option. So it's all about the work that you have to do during the week. Is one around, yes, you can execute your plays right, but also you've got to work out what defence you're coming up against because everyone's defence is different. Some bite, some retreat, some are passive, some are aggressive.
Well, yeah, like what you just said, Toddy, it speaks even more to how good Katoa is because to an untrained eye like mine, I just thought, which would have still been good, that Katoa was taking advantage of a tired player in Kepi. But in reality,
That
but he's doing stuff to. You said he's holding him up. Like that's another thing that he's doing there.
You notice when players get tired players in front of them, they just take them on. They just go at them. Don't worry about this. Don't worry about that. They just go at them and use their foot. That's what mine was. If I knew that I had a lazy guy in front of me, I would just go whack with the right foot and try and go on the inside of him. And then if that didn't work, I knew that I'd have an option to pass. BC was the same. He'd take someone off their right foot. If they'd half get him, sometimes you'd go through untouched. And if they did read it and get tackled, you'd always see there's an option offer. There was never two defenders in the tackle.
The starting point is everything. A real good point on the back of that, Toddy. The young half over here I was talking about the other day, and it's great what you just said about that forced pass. It's great advice the coaches always gave me. If you're going searching for something because you want it to work, it usually doesn't work. When you do all your principles right and organise, the pass normally comes off field, doesn't it? And as that cutout ball to the winger or tunnel ball to your centre, if you're premeditating, it usually doesn't work. When you trust your feel, usually things come off the back of that. So that's good advice for a young half as well, isn't it? Any error I used to come up with was when I was searching for a play that was premeditated. Just trust your feel. Get in positions like Toddy said, do all the work and then trust your feel. But that's what Katoa does so well. He's got such good feel so he can trust it.
But he's also happy to play the long game. He's happy to just go lazy or play short or out the back. He's got the tunnel pass. He very rarely comes up with a poor pass because he's happy to hit his runners because he's got them in place. A lot of players, halves go in the line and they don't have because of their talk or their communication isn't right if they're inside or outside runners, so they just go with the Hail Mary because they don't want to get tackled themselves, where Katoa at the moment is happy to be bashed up a little bit. That's a wrap for round 18 review. Have a great weekend of rugby league. Like we said from the start of the show, if you're a rugby league lover, Sharks v Eels for the NRLW tonight. So another congratulations for their season kicking off. And next week, we'll be talking about the big one, the Origin decider, Game 3 at Sydney, the one everyone's waiting for. Let's get round 18 gone so we can sit on our couches and get the popcorn out and see who wins Origin for 2025. Footy nerds, we love yous, and we'll see yous again next week. Have a great week of rugby league.
See you soon.